On tap, BJCP.
Better beer authority, better beer.
Hi, I'm James Knott, and this is the Better Beer Authority. Today we have a special episode with Kyle Klaiber, who is BJCP certified. You may know him as hophedbrewhaus. That's his YouTube username. Now, Kyle, I want you to tell us, what is BJCP?
BJCP is kind of a section of the American Homebrewers Association. It stands for Beer Judge Certification Program. The BJCP kind of handles the exams to actually become BJCP certified, and they handle awarding points and everything. And you hear about these homebrew competitions, like the one that's national every year, the National Homebrewers Competition, and the one that Sam Adams has every year. They all have to be registered through the BJCP so that they get the judges that have all the experience and go through all that. So.
Okay, and so how do you get involved in this?
There's a lot of really good information out on their website, which is bjcp.org. If anyone's interested in finding out about how the program works or how to become a judge or what all is involved in competition, pretty much anything and everything can be found out there.
Okay, and then, so you have to take a test.
Yes,
and
that's
then,
right.
Is there anything like qualifications to take the test? What is the test like?
No, I mean, anybody can take the test. When I first found out about the program through online forums, like we were talking offline, I'm like, beer judge, you can do that? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, wait a second, what is this program? So I started doing some research, and I probably thought about it for a year and a half, thinking, I don't know enough about this to take this test. And I spent some time studying, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and take it. It costs $50 to take the test. If you go to the website, you can find out where in your area it's scheduled. Mm-hmm. Typically, it's only once or twice a year, and you got to get in pretty quick because they fill up fast.
So what is a BJCP event like? Actually,
just this past weekend, I participated in one for a homebrew forum. I was the judge organizer for that one. And we split that into two regions. Basically, anybody that wanted to enter this competition that was east of the Mississippi sent their beers to us. And then they told us what category and what style it was. And then we're responsible for organizing these beers into workable sessions or flights of, like if you and I were sitting down to judge, maybe 7 or 8 beers is about the most that we're going to be able to do.
It seems like it after that.
Well, but you don't drink the whole beer.
Right, but you'd still start dulling your senses.
Yeah, you do. And you always try to, like category 10, for instance, is American Pale Ales, American Amber Ales, and American Brown Ales. And they go in that order for a reason. The Pale Ales can be kind of plain on the palate, so you can get through those, but you don't want to be going from a Pale Ale to a Brown, back to an Amber, and then back to a Brown, and just kind of mess everything up.
Do you feel like beer number 8 has an advantage because you're a little lubed up?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes that can be the case. It depends on what category you're judging. But like I said, typically, like when we were doing this, even in times when there was 3 of us judging one beer, after we all 3 got our samples and filled out our score sheets, the bottle is still up to here.
Right.
You only take 2 or 3 ounces.
Well, we get criticized on the show sometimes where people say, like, they'll notice that we have beer in the bottle left in our glasses.
Right.
And they'll say, well, drink a whole beer before you start judging it. Like, do you ever feel like you're not getting enough to judge it?
For some styles, maybe.
Because it does change over time as it warms.
It does. But in a perfect world, sure, we'd be able to do that. But, like the one that I just did, and a lot of times in these big competitions, you may be there for 10 or 12 hours over 3 or 4 sessions, and fill out 40 or 50 score sheets. It's not feasible to drink full beers of that many beers.
Well, of course.
Some styles, like a Hefeweizen, you want that. Ideally, you'd be able to get that bottom, swirl that bottle up, and get all that good yeast in there, and then really give it a good evaluation. But sometimes it doesn't always happen. People, this is all volunteer. Nobody
Yeah.
gets paid for any of this, and people have families. So
Do you ever have to judge in the adjunct lager category?
I actually did, yes.
How did that go?
Surprisingly, anyone who's watched my channel knows that scoring system, and anything over a 40 is just a phenomenal beer. It's just a phenomenal beer.
Wait, what's the scale? 1 to 50?
1 to 50. And I actually had, I can't remember if it was I think it was a standard American lager that I gave a 43. And it's not because
Is it adjunct lager?
it's a standard American lager.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Budweiser fits into that style. It's not a beer that I really like, but that's kind of the beauty of the program is it doesn't really, personal preferences do come into play a little bit, but it doesn't matter if I really like it or if I would drink it. I'm supposed to judge it based upon the style guidelines that have been set forth.
Yeah,
And
that's what I don't understand is the way we judge the beers on the show is a very subjective.
Sure.
Like, it's all based on just, hey,
Yeah.
would I drink this again? Would I recommend it? Would I buy it?
Yep.
That sort of hard, actionable stuff. So all of a sudden, if you're judging a beer and you can't put in your personal, how can you not put in your personal opinion?
Well, no, you do to a point, and a lot of it. What I like to do, there's a section down at the bottom for overall comments, and a lot of times, I've pretty much said everything that I can say about the beer up to that point, and that's where I'll put in some of the stuff like you might want to up the grain on this, or this beer could use some more carbonation, or I've even said, like this past weekend, I said, great job. I want you to email me the recipe for this beer.
You're right.
And stuff like that. But see, that's the thing is, even this beer that you just finished,
Yeah, I loved it.
which is good. We can both sit here and we can both take the test and be at the same level as far as points and everything. Or even these two jokers back here, they can come over here and they can drink this beer, and everyone perceives things a little bit differently. So just because I'm judging it within the same style guidelines as you're judging it within, doesn't mean that we're going to have the same score. Some of the personal preferences still come into play.
Isn't it true that everyone has different degrees to which they can perceive different flavors and aromas? Certain flavors and aromas might really stand out to me, but wouldn't stand out to you, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's part of the compromise, and that's we had a couple guys show up with colds,
Right.
who were kind of stuffed up. I'm like, okay, I had them on Weisens, and I'm like, okay, you don't want to be doing a Hefeweizen, a Dunkelweizen, and a Weizenbach when you're supposed to be smelling all this
Right. The
banana clove kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put you on something else and move these guys over. So I always tell people, judging beer is always subjective. It doesn't matter whether you're a BJCP judge or it's just us sitting down here talking about it.
Is the way that you judge beers on your channel different than the way that you judge beers in a BJCP contest?
Somewhat, yeah. And I try to take the same thought process when I'm doing a review on the channel, but I don't actually take the time and fill out a score sheet. I just kind of, you've got the 12 total points for aroma, 3 for appearance, 20 for flavor, 5 for mouthfeel, and 10 for overall. So as I'm hitting all those points, I just kind of keep track in my head and figure, once I've smelled it and taken a taste, I pretty much have a good idea of where I'm going to put the beer as far as a score.
Yeah.
But if I were doing a competition and have have the paper in front of me and have the pencil, and as I'm smelling, I'm writing.
Right.
I look at the color, I look at the head, and I make notes, and it's just.
So do you ever taste a
work.
beer and do you think, man, this is the jam. This could be a professional beer.
Yeah, I have.
Do you think any of those beers have ever become professional, or?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, most people, and you've recently homebrewed. You know what it's like. And even if you really get into it, most people don't have the resources available to them to take that next step.
Right.
But I have had some really, really good homebrews. I had a Russian Imperial Stout over the weekend that was homebrew that was just fantastic. I would put that up against just about any commercial Russian Imperial Stout.
So I guess you say you're an IPA guy.
Yeah.
So if you're within the IPAs, then you're judging within IPAs.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter because that's a style you like. But if you go to a style you don't like adjunct lagers,
Right.
You're still judging within that style. So it's
Yeah. I mean, like we talked about earlier, it's all still a little bit subjective. It's not like everybody has all these memorized either. I mean, I have style guidelines that I bring with me because I can't remember all the exact flavor and aroma and mouthfeel traits of every single style of beer. I don't think anybody can. So, I'm flipping through this and looking and say, okay, yeah, this is about right for the style, and jot that down on the score sheet. Yeah, okay, this is good. So.
Okay. Well, Kyle, I appreciate you coming by.
Hey, it was a pleasure, man.
I
Thanks for
really
having me.
enjoyed having you. That's Kyle Klaiber, a.k.a. hophedbrewhaus. That's his YouTube username. Go and check out his channel, and you can also see the great bar that he built in his basement. It's awesome. I really love it. I'm James Knott, and this is your Better Beer Authority.
Better Beer Authority.